Believe. Babaki Che. Welcome to today's discourse. And if you remember yesterday, Sukha Deva and King Janaka were having a very beautiful discussion. And yet, still, Sukha Deva was not convinced. So we go on to chapter 19. Sri Sukha Deva said, "O king, the great doubt arises in my mind, how a man can be free from desires and the rewards of their actions when he lives in the midst of the samsara that is all full of maya. When even by the acquiring of wisdom of the sastras and the capability to judge which is real and which is unreal, the delusion of the mind is not dispelled until one resorts to the practice of yoga. How then can freedom from desires and liberation come to a householder? The darkness of a room is not destroyed by the mere mention of light. So the wisdom acquired by reading the sastras can never dispel the darkness of delusion that reigns in the inside of a man. O Lion of Kings, if one wants moksha, one ought not to commit any act of revenge or injury or killing of any human being. How can this be possible to a householder? Your desire to acquire wealth, to enjoy royal pleasures, and to get victory in battle have not yet subsided. How then can you be a jivan mukta? O king, you consider yet a thief, and a saint. You consider a man as your relative or other, then those ideas have not vanished from you. How then can you be called enlightened? O king, you feel the pungent, bitter, and astringent sour taste and the like. You feel good and bad rasas, respectively. You become glad when success comes to you, and you feel sorrow when you happen to fail. And you experience for the three states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, as an ordinary man does. How then can you be called and said to have attained this fourth state of Jiva Mukta? May I ask whether you cherish this idea that all these infantries, cavalries, chariots, and that all these elephants are mine? I am the Lord of the wealth and things, or whether you do not cherish this idea. O king, I think you eat sweet and good things, and at times feel pleasure, and at other times feel pain. So, O king, how can you look on the garland of flowers and the snake as one and the same? O king, he who is a mukta purusa considers a lump of earth, a piece of stone, and gold as one and the same value. He considers everything to be the same, Atman, and does good to all beings. Excuse me. Whether that may be, I do not find any pleasure at present with houses, wives, etc., or with anything, in fact. What my heart desires is that I roam alone, always without any desire in my heart. Therefore, I like not to have any companion, to be free from any attachment, and to be peaceful. And calm. I do not wish to accept anything from anybody. I will forego all pleasure and pains from cold, warmth, etc. And I will sustain my life on roots, fruits, and leaves, obtained without any effort, and will roam as I like, just like a deer. When I have not got the least attachment to the household life, and when I am beyond all the attributes, what necessity have I then of house, wealth, or a suitable wife? And And when you think of various things with loving heart, and yet say that you are a Jivan Mukti, that is nothing but a mere vanity of yours. O king, when you think and become anxious about your enemies, about your wealth, or sometimes about your army, how then can you be said to be free from cares? What more can be said than the fact that many munis, eating moderately and controlling their senses and leading a sacred life and knowing the unreality of the world, still fall victims to the Mahamaya? Then what need there is to talk of you, O king? Know that the heredity title, Videha, to your line of kings indicates downright insincerity. Nothing can be more than this, as the name Vidyadhan, holder of knowledge, is applied to an illiterate man, or as the name son is given to the blind born man, as the name Lakshmi Dara, holder of wealth, is given to even a poor man, as these names are quite useless to me. I have heard that the kings of your family, who were your predecessors, were called Videha in name only, and to indeed, O king, in your family there reigned a king named Nimi. Once on a time, that royal sage invited his guru Vashishta to perform a sacrifice. When Vashishta said, I am already invited by Indra, the lord of the Devas, to perform his sacrifice. So, king, let me first finish his work. I will then take up your work. Better go on collecting the sacrificial materials till my work with Indra is complete. Thus saying, Vashishta went away to perform Indra's sacrifice. On the other hand, the royal sage, Nimi, selected another priest and made him his guru and began his sacrifice. Hearing all this, Maharishi Vasistha became angry and cursed him thus, O forsaker of your guru, for the crime of forsaking your guru, let thy body be destroyed today. At this, the royal sage too cursed the Vasistha in his turn, let your body fall off also. Then the bodies of both the persons fell. But, O king, this curiosity came to my mind, how the royal sage whose body fell before cursed his own guru afterwards. Janaka said, O Lord of Brahmins, what you have said, in my opinion, is all quite true. Nothing is fault. Still here, know what my most worshipful Guru Deva Vedavyasa has spoken to me that is in fact true. You are now intending to quit the company of your father and go to the forest. Well and good. But even then you will undoubtedly have the company of deer, etc. See also that when the 5 elements, earth, water, air, etc., are present encompassing everywhere, how then can you expect to be free from all companions? So, O Muni, when you will have to think always of your food, how then can you be said to be free from all cares? Again, even if you go to the forest, you will have to think there also for your staff, your deerskin, etc. So you can take my case, too, of thinking of my kingdom, whether I think or not, as you're thinking of staff, deer, and skin. Your heart, O Sutta, is tainted with the Kalpa Yana, knowledge of doubt, duality, and therefore you have come here from a far-off country. But my heart is free from any such doubt, and I am remaining quite cheerful here. O best of Brahmins, I have got no doubt whatsoever on any point, and therefore I take my food and and go to sleep with great pleasure. I'm not bound up by this world. This idea gives me constant happiness of the highest degree. But you consider that you are bound and therefore you feel always constant pain. So leave off your idea that you are bound and be happy. This body is mine. This knowledge leads to my bondage. And this body is not mine. This knowledge leads to freedom. So knows this verily that all this wealth, kingdom, etc. are not mine. Sutta said, hearing these words of the royal sage King Janaka, Sukha Deva became exceedingly glad and pronounced Sadhu, Sadhu, which means true saint, indeed a true saint, well said, and went away without any delay to the pleasant ashram of Vyasa. Vyasa, seeing his son come back, became very glad and embraced him and took the smell of his head and asked about his welfare again and again. Then Sukha Deva, well conversant with all the sastras and ever ready in studying the Vedas, sat by the side of his father with an enlightened mind in his lovely ashram and thinking of the state of the high-souled King Janaka in his kingdom. He began to feel that highest peace. Though Sukha Deva adopted the path of yoga, yet he also married the daughter of a Muni named Pivari, very beautiful, fortunate, and enhancing the glory of her father's family. Then were born first the 4 sons named Krishna, Gauraprabha, Bhuri, and Devasutta out of the sperm of Sukha Deva and the ovum of Pivari. And next a daughter was born named Kirti of them. Vyasa's son Sukha, endowed with the fire of asceticism, gave the daughter Kirti in marriage in due time with the high-souled Anupa, the son of the Raja. As time passed on, a son was born in the womb of Kirti and the sperm of Anuha, a son who became the powerful king Brahmadatta, the knower of Brahma and endowed with wealth and prosperity. Some time elapsed when Anuha, the son-in-law of Sukadeva, getting from Narada the Mahabija and highest knowledge of the yoga, handed over his kingdom to his son and went to the hermitage of Bhadarika and became liberated. Narada gave him the mantra, the Bija mantra of Mahamaya, and by the influence of the mantra and by the grace of the Divine Mother, the knowledge of the Supreme Brahma arose in him without any obstacle and gave him liberation. On the other hand, Sukadeva, always averse to any company, left his father and went to the beautiful mountain Kailasha. He began to meditate on the unmoving Brahma and thus remained there. After some time, the highly energetic Sukadeva attained great supernatural powers. He rose up high in the air from the top of the mountain and began to roam there, and then he appeared like a second sun. When Sukha rose from the peak, it severed into 2, and various ominous signs became visible. When Sukadeva, appearing like a second sun by the dazzling brilliancy of his body, suddenly vanished away like air and became diluted in the Paraman, entering into everything, and he became invisible. Then the Deva Rishi began to chant hymns to him. On the other hand, Vedavyasa, Sukha's father, became very much distressed with the separation from his son and cried out frequently, "O my son, alas, my son, where are you gone?" and went to the summit of the mountain where Sukha Deva did go and wept bitterly. Then Sukha Deva, who was then residing in the Paramatman, the eternal controller of all beings and with all the beings, knowing Vedavyasa as very much fatigued, distressed, and crying, spoke out as an echo from the mountains and trees thus, "O Father, there is no difference between you and me, considered in the light of Atman. Then why are you weeping for me?" Even today, the above echo is clearly heard almost daily, seeing Vedavyasa's grief very much for the separation of his son and always crying, "O my son, O my son, O my son." Bhagavan Maheshwara come there and consoled him, saying, "O Vedavyasa, your son is the foremost of the yogis. He has attained the highest state, so very rare to the ordinary persons that are not self-controlled. So do not be sorry anymore. O sinless one, when you have realized the Brahma Tattva, then you ought not to express any sorrow for your son Sukadeva, who is now stationed in that Brahman. Your fame is now unrivaled, only on account of you having got a son like Sukadeva." Vedavyasa said, "O Lord of the Devas, O Lord Shiva, O Lord of the world, what am I to do now? My grief does not quit my heart anyhow or other. My eyes are not satisfied in seeing my son. They like still to see my son." Hearing these sorrowful words of Vedavyasa, Bhagavan Shiva said, "O Muni, I grant this boon to you, that you will see the form of your son abiding in shadow, very beautiful, by the side of you. O destroyer of enemies, now abandon your grief by seeing the shadow form of your son." When Bhagavan Shiva said so, Vedavyasa began to see the bright shadow form of his son. Granting thus the boon, Bhagavan Shiva vanished then and there. When he vanished away, Vedavyasa became very much distressed with sorrow for the bereavement of his son, and returned with a heavy heart to his own hermitage. Thus, then, the 19th chapter of the first skanda on the description of the marriage of Sukadeva in the Mahapurana Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, 18,000 verses. Jai Mahamaya ki Jai, Bole Baba ki Jai.